We're at the Spa Hotel tonight, and I'm talking to
Andy Kirkby.
And you are the sculptor who is going to do the community's sculpture for the...
I am, yes.
Yeah?
The idea of the commission is New Look, who are funding the whole project, have outlined part of their design brief is to actually come up with some funding to produce landscaping and art enhancement. It's got a technical name as 106, so it's got a very boring name to begin with. But that basically means that they, detached from the council, they will fund the project entirely for me to produce possibly 4 to 5 pieces, we don't know how many yet, of sculpture, of public art. Now, the difference between this project and past projects in this area is that the public consultation stage hasn't always happened.
Right.
So this public liaison, which we've done tonight, has been lacking. And I've always worked, I think this is probably why I was selected for this job, I've always worked in a similar way to how we're doing tonight. I do an awful lot of public liaison, I work with local schools, and I gather stories so that whatever I design and base my sculpture on is relevant to the area. It's site specific,
right.
And it's accessible to people who live around the sculpture. And I think that's only fair, because all too often artists forget that if they're producing work out of the environment of their studios, that people have to live with it once they're gone. So it's always a good starting point for me. So I'm hoping after tonight we can generate some interesting stories that aren't in the guidebooks, some sort of quirky histories to do with the farm maybe that was once on the site, and incorporate these into the overall design of the work. I mean, obviously I can't cater for everyone's tastes.
No.
But I think I've got enough experience to make the work accessible and, relevant to the people that live here.
Yeah. You talked in your presentation tonight about you started off with the archaeology. Yeah? I can identify with that.
Okay.
Because I did that too.
Okay, good.
And it occurred to me that when you're working on archaeology, you're working with impermanence. Human beings, buildings,
exactly.
They're there and then they're gone.
Yeah. It's all very transient.
Whereas you are making something that will last for a long time. So there is a kind of dichotomy between the two. Has that ever?
Yeah, you saw the show tonight, and if you look at my website, you'll see that a lot of the pieces, the subject matter deals with mythology, personal mythologies, and sort of reconciling the past with the present, and trying to understand whether there's a link between the two. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. And it's this, as a sort of overall theme in my work, that fascinates me. This idea of Chinese whispers, of interpreting the past, of misinterpreted evidence as well. We're sort of led to believe by sort of scholarly sort of figures that things went exactly how they did, and the Venus de Milo's arms were arranged in a certain way. And really, we don't know for sure. They weren't there.
No.
It's all sort of hearsay, really, and I find that quite interesting for subject matter, for work. And it's a little bit like Chinese whispers. You start a sentence off, pass it around a room, and it comes back slightly changed, but the root of the story is there. And I think this makes for interesting art. I think art that you can't engage with and you understand instantly, you say, yeah, that's a figure, celebrating Churchill's life. That's a monument.
It's all right for its purpose.
I like to engage people and get them thinking, but you can't make it too sort of inaccessible.
You can't make it too easy. You can't make it too hard.
You've got to get people hooked. So that's why I work with recognisable fragments.
Right.
And I call it fragments of recognition.
Right.
And we all have it when we dream. We dream, or when we think about a memory from a holiday or a relationship or a job in the past. We have snippets, and we fit these snippets together. Right. And sometimes they get confused, they get interwoven, and I like that visual materialisation.
You get people saying, about something you think you've experienced. It wasn't like that at all.
No,
Something else happened.
Yeah. And we're a nation, we're very much a nation of sort of rose-tinted glasses. We do like dwelling on the past.
Sure.
We do like to think about the good old days, and that's because we're English, and I quite like that. I quite like that sort of, a lot of Europeans think that's quite odd, but they find it quirky, it's likeable in the British.
Right.
And
but a lot of the stuff wasn't like that at all.
yeah, but it's nice. It's like a comfort zone for a lot of people.
Sure.
I'm the same. I have, obviously my memories and my sort of understanding of the past. That's all part and parcel of that. It's sort of, I think we need comfort zones. Whether it's religion, whether it's our memories, whether it's going down the pub, a takeaway, it works in different ways for different people.
Yeah.
But we need these buffers, these comfort zones.
Yeah. As I said, I worked on the couple of rescue digs in Dorchester.
Mm-hmm. All right.
When they built the bypass. Mm-hmm. And I actually dug up a body. And I know the feeling when you first encounter something like that. This thing in front of you had a life.
Exactly. It's a sort of, it's a long time ago for me as well, but you feel fascination, but also you feel like you're desecrating something as well in a way, and you feel very embarrassed doing it.
Yeah.
And I never did the excavations. I was purely just drawing and photographing. But I sense that as well.
Yeah.
And that's something you can't. It's hard to explain, that emotion, and it's something that's challenging as an artist to deal with things like that. So I'm not saying that will crop up in this project, but it's all part of developing as an artist. And when I was a student, that was an important part of my development. These emotional things that you can't always put down in words.
So you've got to try to get them down in stone or
and of course you try and communicate that to people, and they find it difficult to understand unless they've done it like yourself before. You sort of know that feeling. So.
Yeah. So if people want to see more of your work, they can go to your website, I guess.
Yeah, it's I should know this, shouldn't I? It's andykirkby.com.
Right.
So if you just put in Andy Kirkby, you should get a link straight away to a website. Click on that, and on the home page you'll find a link to this particular project.
Right. And I'll put a link on the video page as well for you.
Fantastic.
So people can watch the video.
Yeah. Within that link there is a blog, obviously, and people can contribute to that. Pictures, stories, and this is the building blocks for the project, really. So I'm really hoping people will contribute. And
I understand they can see samples of your other work on there as well.
On my website they'll find past projects, and they'll get a flavour for the materials and the style that I work in.
Right. When do you think this project is going to be finished? I know there's going to be another meeting in about...
My lead time is probably this time next year, so it's quite a long process. But there's many design processes and planning that have to be sort of dealt with in the meantime. Sure. So we're going to have another meeting in a month at the same venue, and hopefully, if I've got enough input from stories, I can come up with some designs, and I'll be able to illustrate those at the meeting and sort of give people an idea of how I've interpreted their information.
Okay, so I'll try to be at that meeting and we'll see what you can come up with.
I hope so. Fantastic.
All right, thank you for the interview.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.